get that one noisy. All the way around. That one's up all the way.
Because it's laying down this way.
All right, so we decided we're gonna pull the intake and just not screw around. We're actually gonna pull the intake and the odd bank cylinder head, and we'll figure it out. So cue time lapse.
Intake in the garbage.
Check this out, everybody. That was laying inside the. What number is that? That's the.
Like on newer.
That's number 7.
That's 8.
That's 8.
Oh, that's only really.
It's on the other side
Yeah.
of the back.
Wow.
That's the one that had the spark plug that looked like.
It looks like a cotter pin.
Yeah, it is that one.
Oh, it's good. It's good why we pulled that. So here's our collection so far of pieces that came out of the cylinders. This was in number 2. This was in the number 8 intake runner. If you look, you can see evidence of where this stuff is rolling around. If you look, sorry, Ben. It looks good overall. We did a compression test, and the compression test was overall really good, which means the valve seats are probably still okay. Yeah, but it's a good time to like this cooling port was plugged. So we're just kind of going through cleaning stuff up. Hopefully it's going to be better than ever. Well, maybe not better than ever, but better than it was. All right, the boys have been killing it. Heads are off. Kyle, you feel good about the process?
I do. I feel great about the process.
Because we were like, in true Scout Life fashion, I was like, let's just get the piece that we saw out of the number 3
cylinder,
and let's just run it. And the guys convinced me otherwise, so like, no, let's just pull the heads. And I think this was definitely the right move. So, cleaning stuff up, prepping tins. I am going to change out the intake manifold to a square bore, so I don't have to run any adapter. So I'll take everything off this intake and put it on this intake. Start the process of putting things back together. One thing in prepping this intake, when you do an intake manifold or you're just doing intake gaskets, always be sure to check these little freeze plugs. You can just take a screwdriver and tap at them. But if you see that one is bad. So if you ever have like antifreeze at the back of your valley pan, it may be because these are leaking. Look, I just barely tapped that one. So I'm going to change these out, put new ones in, and then pull off the thermostat housing, water neck, coil, heater hose. So this might be a pickup truck intake, but we'll get her done. All right, half hour later. Are the heads torqued?
Yep.
You follow the torque specs?
Yep.
All right.
On the Anything Scout website.
That's right. They're jamming. We're just finishing prep on this intake. It's gonna be great. Here's Mike. Fun day, fun times doing these projects every now and then. We don't do it very often. All right, Larry's here again. My blessed helper, dude. So, got all the old metal cut out. We're not gonna patch this section because the rust was from the top down, not the bottom up. So we'll just rust bullet, whoa, that's what this is, rust bullet thoroughly. And then we'll needle scale this stuff, clean this up after he patches in this back piece, which is gonna be solid. So here's the dream team. They're moving faster than the camera could capture, but motor's back together. She's quiet again.
Runs smooth.
Runs real smooth.
The old IH sewing machine.
That's right. So we're gonna guess that those fragments of metal, the tapping was them getting stuck in the valves. But yeah, it's running great. So we're gonna put some coolant in it. We'll probably just let it run to actually warm up.
Yeah.
Got a couple little things to do, but we're stoked. Oh.
1,000-mile original mile engine. They didn't rebuild it. They just regasketed it, and they rebuilt the train. So it's a regasketed engine with a rebuilt transmission.
Double regasket on the top end.
I was gonna say it's got top end.
Top end gasket.
It's too tight. Somebody cranked it down too much.
Got that one set a little stuff.
I'm here with Jake and Tim. We're doing a little love on this. I could never get to this because it's a weird bumper. So they're giving it a little polish and shine. So I'm stoked. Larry kicked butt. Got the floor patches done. So now I'm going to, and again, this is my truck. This is we don't, on our restorations or when we do this professionally, we would do this, we'd probably sandblast out this bed. But it's my truck and I know how I'm gonna use it and what I need to do to it. So we're just taking this device called a needle scaler. And just very loud, but I'm gonna needle scale everything down about to like that. And then we're gonna put a rust bullet over it. And that's my job tonight, is get a coat of this on there. And then I'll walk you through the whole truck. Check out that. Check out that yellow. Woo! This is cool though, it is original paint. So we're gonna blend this in and reshoot this buckskin tan. Got the first coat of rust bullet on, so now I'll go down back, put on a second coat, let this dry for like a couple hours. Then we'll gotta finish this weather stripping lip tomorrow, and hopefully we'll try to paint this. Hopefully we'll try to paint these corner cap and put her back together. Overall, it's been a really good day. Pretty stoked to drive it and see how it runs. All right, so phase 3 of the Iowa project was to replace this corner cap, and we're going to blend some buckskin, try our best to color match. It's hard to color match 50-year-old paint, but we got the right guy in the job. So let me show you what we got going. So we're not doing any Bondo work. This is a perfectly straight original, so I want that kind of, I don't want that glassy, perfect look. So we're gonna spray this. Chris, sorry, we're gonna spray the orange patch. And then while we're at it, we're just gonna blend. This corner cap was an original paint. You can kind of see if you look close.
I think I got the color matched.
The difference of this to this. And the seam seals had a little bit of rust, so we're gonna get after it.
It's gonna be good.
Ben is spraying Epoxy Primer to just kind of seal everything up. And we want to mimic as close as possible. The original color, which had a black sealer underneath it. Hey Ben, so Ben's gonna seam seal this, but what can you tell us about this seam on the back, corner cap to quarter panel?
On this truck or in general?
In general.
In general, okay. In general, this is what this seam is it's two lips meeting together like a kiss on the lips. but what's happening is they're spot welded together in between there. Some people are really tempted to just Bondo over that. That's a bad idea, because what happens is it's a flexible joint or a flexible seam. You know, it expands and contracts with heat and cold, and it's gonna move as the body flexes and that sort of stuff. So what you want to do is seal it up with something flexible.
Plus it looks jank.
And it looks jank if you Bondo over it. It just kind of changes the look of the Scout for sure. We always steer away from trucks that have it like that because it's usually a sign that other stuff is like janked and like smeared over with Bondo. We're not doing this like extremely properly. Obviously there's some rust holes right here, so I'm not like being judgmental about that. I'm just, what the idea of this seam sealer is just to give a flexible protective coating for this seam. If you don't put anything in it, it's going to seep rust and it'll look bad. So we're just going to seal it up, let it keep its movement without smearing over it, basically.
Big moment, the blended buckskin. Hopefully it's going to be close. It's very difficult to match old paint. Ben just put on some light coat. Look at that buckskin shine. Last coat of base. Hopefully it's looking good. I mean, it looks good, but hopefully the color matches. I love this little dent right here. All right, busy day at the shop. It's a hive of activity. Sorry the video ended kind of abruptly, that last segment. We finished up the paint. It's okay. Ben did a great job. It's really difficult to match 50-year-old paint, original paint. So bros are getting me on the road. We're gonna put the top on, roll bar, retro belts are in. So that's nice to have more safety. Hard tops, 4 dudes. Pretty much a must. 2 dudes, death sentence. 3 dudes, danger zone. 4 dudes, pretty enjoyable. Anyway, I'll ping back when I get the Scout loaded up. Got some parts to bring out west, and we're gonna hit the road. So if any of you guys ever have messed with these back armrests, they have these little rubber bushings. And one thing that always makes me happy is when our team continues to find cool little replacement parts like that. So if you need those rubber style crush bushings for the armrests, got them. All right, so we got her all loaded up. Spent a good 3 days in Ames. Loved being around the guys, man. They're so talented and so just committed to doing great work. And it's fun to wrench on these old original rigs in the midst of building all the other stuff we build. So hitting the road, I'll start a new clip of the road trip home. Hopefully we'll make it with an untested 345 4-barrel. All right, what's up everybody? All right, so got my 3-point seatbelt on. We're cranking. I'm about 2 hours into the drive. The truck feels different. The 345 is definitely smoother than the 304. And I'm cranking. If you notice, I got the windows rolled up because we got AC. The AC is working better than I expected, so that's really fun. The vitals, oil pressure is great. Temp is holding steady at like 185. Cruising it, I'm just cruising at 65. I don't want to push it. It's going great. So I got a long journey ahead of me. Owen and Heather flew home, so I'm just alone. But it's all good. I like road trips. So I'm 165 miles in. I'm getting 12 miles per gallon, which is good, but that's not good. That's just AC water. That's good. This is like, looks like just like oil. But I'm gonna check, and it looks like the rear main seal, which is unfortunate. So anyway, status report. All right, so I got a little predicament. As is my luck, sometimes when you change something, expecting it to be better, it's actually worse. So the motor was running great, but now it's like making a little bit of a knocking noise. Check it out. Let me flip this screen. It's hard to hear, but there's like a noticeable right side exhaust. It's pretty smooth. Let's check out the left side. Hear that? It's almost corresponding with the sound that it's making. The noise is definitely not like before when it was clacking. It was from the top end, and now it sounds like it's from the lower end. I don't know, man. There's plenty of oil in it. I guess I'll just press on. Yeah, I don't know if the microphone is sensitive enough to hear, but it's just a very light. So I've gone 160 miles. I have a lot. Another 1,800 to go. And my fear is right now I'm 2 hours. I'm 2 hours from Ames back at the shop. And the more, if I make it, that's fine. I could always swap the motor. I got another couple options. But if I don't make it, I'm just getting myself in worse. So I think what I'm gonna do is press on another tank full, another like 150 miles west. And if at that point it's just getting gnarly or starting to get worse, then I'll just tuck tail, turn around, go back to Iowa and slap another motor in it. So is the Scout life. All right, so it's been about I've probably gone another 80 miles since that last stop, and I'm just driving. I'm watching the gauges. Temp and oil pressure look good. It's hard to tell if it's probably still leaking oil. The noise hasn't, like, I'm not hearing any kind of like knocking from the engine. So I'm gonna go about another 40 miles and then I'll pull over and check things out. I'll keep you in the loop. So bad news. I think I'm gonna have to abort the mission. I don't see any visible oil leaks from the top of this. Now look at this rear man. I've been sitting here for like 30 seconds. It's the worst oil leak I've ever seen. It almost looks like there's water or something. It's just real thin. Yeah, it's not just pure oil. It's definitely like oil and something. Let me see if I can see anything. Definitely seems like it's coming from the rear main seal. Could just be hot, thin oil. Tastes like oil. So this is what happens when you drive an untested rig. Kind of stinks. I've driven 4 hours. I'm gonna have to turn around. Hopefully I make it back. But it's life. I'm not like super upset about it. It could be worse. The AC is awesome, so that's a plus. All right, so I'm gonna turn around, head back, and devise a different plan. I don't know if I'm gonna stick with this motor. Once I kind of get spooked with the motor, even if it's just like a massive rear main seal leak, I might just put the original 345 back in it or do something different. Anyway, I'll hit you back when if I don't make it. All right, so I don't know how well you can hear me, but this is kind of crazy. So you guys saw that big giant pool underneath the rear main seal, and there was also a pool coming out of the AC. So I turned around to head back east. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Let's shut the AC off for like 5 miles and just see what happens. So I shut off the AC, drive 5 miles, pull over, dry as a bone, not one bit of a leak. So I'm like, that's weird. So then I do it again, another 5 miles, no AC, dry as a bone. So then, and it's way cooler now anyway, so it's gonna be condensing less water. But check this out. So then I went another 10 miles back west. And I'm not saying I don't know what's going on, but check this out. All right, this is Home Sweet Home. Talk about the Scout's doing, how it's doing in the morning. Good morning. Spent the night in the Scout. It wasn't too bad. Fortunately, like Owen and Heather had a pillow that they left, so I was able to use that as a bridge across the front bench mid-backs. But unfortunately, my scientific experiment must have been just an anomaly because the rear main seal is still gushing. So I'm committed though now. I found this stuff available only in a gallon. So I'm gonna check the oil, probably add a little bit of that stuff, gas up and just we'll keep the journey going, man. Everything sounds, there's like an intermittent, you know, almost like the knock, lower end knock, but I'm just gonna keep pushing, man. Let the old IH do its thing, durability. But it's a bummer now that I get back home that I gotta pull the trans and do a rear main seal. It's not fun, but it's what we do. I'm gonna throw it in, see it. Hopefully it'll help. All right, man. So we're here at Herzog Automotive in Sterling, Colorado, and guy's name is Morgan. I called about 6 places, and this was the only place that was willing to help me out. So I love that spirit and like businesses that are willing to help someone out. But I think my problem, I think we figured it out, but I'll throw it out there and then we'll see as we go. But I found this precious transmission cooler, that factory transmission cooler. Well, what was interesting is I think the fluid was transmission fluid coming out of the vent of the 727, which the vent is up inside the bell housing. And because remember, it was like thinner than motor oil. It smelled funny, like it didn't smell like motor oil. And it was intermittent, and that makes sense with heat. But when I checked the transmission fluid, it was overfilled by like 2 inches above the full, and that's something at the shop that I just didn't check because I was told that the transmission was a rebuilt transmission, so I just didn't even check it. But anyway, what I discovered was the transmission, as we were sucking the fluid out of it, it was ripping hot. Like it was really, really hot. And then I touched the transmission and it was smoking hot. But the cooler in front of the grill, I'll show you. You know this cooler. The cooler that's right here was cold to the touch. So what Morgan and I deduced is that the cooler was blocked. And this whole time of the whole trip, the transmission was not pushing any fluid, was not getting any cooling. It is running now just through the radiator, so we got rid of the cooler. So, but anyway, I'm gonna hit the road. These guys are great. If you ever need help and you're in Colorado, passing through 76, hit them up. Thank you, Morgan and team. Back to the road. Okay, so I went another 40 miles. I stopped at the car wash. Still has a little residue, but I washed the grease off. And check this out, you guys. Nothing. Bone dry. And the other good thing is that the transmission cooler lines that are now going into the radiator are really hot. So that means the pump is working and it is cycling transmission fluid. So good news. I'm gonna just keep pressing on, but that's good news, and I'll report back in a little bit. All right, so we've been cranking, man. We're like in, I don't know, almost a Green River, Utah. It's beautiful country. Not really. I mean, it is in its own unique way. Scout's been just amazing. It's making this little bit of a knocking noise, and I think this engine had an electric fuel pump on it. So I took the fuel pump off my 304, and I think that it might be the fuel pump arm knocking on the cam lobe. I've had that happen before. Other than that, after I fixed that transmission line, she's just been cruising, pulling grades. The AC is amazing. If you don't have AC in your truck, think about it. It's really fun. I will talk to you when we get back to, I think my goal tonight is to either go all the way or just make it to Vegas or something, but we'll just keep cranking. did it. I didn't make it home, but I just got a hotel last night. I was too tired. And I'm telling you, the other morning I woke up, felt like I hit a brick wall. So that was nice. Got a good sleep in St. George. And I'm heading back on the highway. Should be home today. We'll hit the road. All right. Well, we made it. It was a long journey. But man, in summary, once I figured out that transmission cooler issue, it really was flawless. Like the AC was the star of the show. You know, do I regret or am I stoked about changing the motor? The old setup I had super dialed, so that's always a big question mark. Like, man, I messed with a lot of stuff. So that, I mean, this one seems to be running reliably. I'm gonna try a different carburetor, a smaller CFM Holley, so watch out for a video on that. But this one starts right up. It's been running pretty great. The transmission is, I don't know if what's up with it, because it felt like this even in Ames. But the transmission it feels like it has like a stall speed converter. And it's I don't know if you can translate how that feels, but it just feels like it's always not slipping per se, but just like it requires more throttle to get it to go. So I'm on the fence about the transmission. I'm gonna have the fluid changed and see how it holds up. I'll kind of take it on some local trips, but I don't trust the transmission. And that kind of like thudding kind of crankcase noise, we'll see if that gets better or worse. I'm gonna change the oil. But she's a driver, love the truck. I'm gonna move on to the interior. We have a fun announcement to make that we're gonna be in the SEMA show this year with this truck with Retro Manufacturing, who makes the retro sound radios and retro belts that I'm not wearing. So that's awesome. Look for those videos. I'm stoked to do a carpet install, kind of clean up their front floors, like do some stuff like that. But I'll keep you in the loop, man. Next mechanical video will be the carburetor. But she's pretty solid, not really leaking, and it's a good truck. So we'll just keep iterating. If I got to put the old transmission back in it, I'll ship it out here and slap the old transmission in, or have this one rebuilt. It's not a big deal. But until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching the journey. Pretty stoked. Get out in your Scout, do some maintenance, and go on a trip, man. Do something cool, make some memories. That's what they're for.